When people think of Starship Troopers, they usually remember the giant alien bugs, the brutal battles, and the explosive sci-fi action. But what makes the film even more impressive is how much of it was created using practical effects, massive miniatures, animatronics, and groundbreaking visual effects technology. From gigantic spaceships and terrifying warrior bugs to the horrifying brain bug itself, the making of Starship Troopers is just as fascinating as the movie itself. Let's take a look behind the scenes and discover how this sci-fi classic was created. One of the most unforgettable moments in Starship Troopers arrives during the film's climax, when the heroes finally encounter the mysterious brain bug. Unlike the warrior bugs seen throughout the movie, the brain bug wasn't designed to be a frontline fighter. Instead, it was the intelligent leader of the arachnid species, a horrifying creature capable of extracting information directly from human minds. The sequence begins when Carmen Ibanez and Xander Barkalow crash deep inside the arachnid tunnels and find themselves trapped within the bug's underground hive. What follows is one of the most disturbing scenes in the entire film, as the brain bug uses its long, needle-like trunk to pierce Xander's skull and drain information directly from his brain. To bring this creature to life, the filmmakers relied on a sophisticated combination of practical effects and CGI. For close-up shots, the brain bug was represented by a massive full-scale animatronic built specifically for the production. This enormous creature wasn't simply a static prop. It contained hydraulic mechanisms, cables, and multiple puppeteers controlling its eyes, mouth, facial movements, and infamous brain-sucking proboscis. Whenever Carmen and Xander are standing face-to-face with the creature, the actors are actually performing alongside a physical animatronic monster on set. Because the brain bug was physically present, the cast could react naturally to its movements, giving the scene a level of realism that would have been difficult to achieve using CGI alone. The underground bug hive itself was also far more practical than many viewers realize. Rather than creating the entire environment digitally, the production team constructed large cave and tunnel sets where actors could physically move through the alien nest. The walls were designed with organic textures, strange shapes, and insect-like patterns to make the location feel like a living underground colony, while the background tunnels and additional bugs were later enhanced with visual effects. Much of the environment immediately surrounding the actors was completely real. The most challenging part of the sequence was Xander's death scene. To create the illusion that the brain bug was drilling into his skull, the special effects team built custom prosthetic makeup appliances and a specially designed replica head. The mechanical trunk was carefully operated by puppeteers, while clever angles, editing, and practical effects sold the horrifying illusion that the creature was extracting information directly from his brain. According to crew members, some versions of the sequence were even more graphic than what ultimately appeared in theaters, with certain shots being trimmed during post-production. Moments later, Carmen attacks the brain bug and slashes its trunk with a knife. That sequence also relied heavily on practical effects. A physical prop version of the trunk was constructed specifically for the stunt, allowing the damage to be captured directly in camera. Combined with sound design and editing, the result feels surprisingly brutal and convincing. What makes the brain bug sequence so impressive is how many different filmmaking techniques are working together at once. Practical animatronics, prosthetic makeup, full-scale sets, puppetry, and CGI enhancements were all carefully blended to create a creature that still feels remarkably real nearly 3 decades later. Even today, the brain bug remains one of the most memorable examples of practical creature effects from the late 1990s. One of the film's most impressive achievements was actually its massive futuristic space fleet. Whenever Federation warships travel through deep space or prepare for the invasion of Klendathu, the scale feels enormous, as if the filmmakers somehow managed to film real spacecraft thousands of miles above Earth. But behind the scenes, these spectacular sequences were created through an innovative combination of practical miniatures, motion control photography, and cutting-edge visual effects. Many viewers assumed the Federation ships, including the iconic Roger Young and the fleet's giant battle cruisers, were completely computer-generated. In reality, most of these spacecraft began as highly detailed miniature models, known in the visual effects industry as bigatures. These weren't simple model kits. They were massive, meticulously crafted miniatures, covered with thousands of tiny details, including weapon systems, communication arrays, docking structures, engine components, and intricate surface paneling. To make these ships feel enormous, the visual effects team filmed them inside controlled studio environments using motion-controlled cameras. These specialized camera systems could repeat the exact same movement multiple times with perfect precision. This allowed artists to shoot separate lighting passes, engine glows, reflections, and effects layers before combining everything into a single shot. The result was a level of realism and scale that made the ships appear kilometers long on screen. the cockpit sequences were equally impressive. Whenever Carmen Ibanez and other Federation pilots are seen operating their spacecraft, the actors were actually performing inside full-scale cockpit sets built specifically for the production. The seats, control panels, monitors, switches, and flight controls were all practical props that physically existed on set. Of course, the spectacular space views outside the windows weren't there during filming. Instead, the cockpit windows were surrounded by green screens, which were later replaced with stars, planets, battle fleets, and deep space environments. The production team also used carefully timed lighting effects to simulate incoming plasma attacks, nearby explosions, and passing spacecraft. These lights would flash across the actor's face and control panels, creating realistic reflections that helped sell the illusion that a massive battle was unfolding just outside the ship. Whenever a spacecraft was hit or forced into violent maneuvers, the cockpit itself was mounted on hydraulic rigs and mechanical shakers. These systems physically rocked and vibrated the set, allowing the actors to react naturally to turbulence, impacts, and evasive maneuvers. Because the movement was real, the performances felt far more believable than if the actors had simply pretended to be shaking. When the Federation fleet arrives above Klindathu and begins deploying thousands of soldiers onto the planet's surface, on screen it feels like an enormous military invasion involving endless waves of troops preparing for war. In reality, the production relied on a combination of real stunt performers, practical sets, and clever visual effects techniques. Hundreds of extras and stunt actors were dressed in full mobile infantry armor and filmed from multiple angles to create the illusion of a much larger force. Strategic camera placement, editing, and repeated formations helped make the army appear far bigger than it actually was. For the widest shots, visual effects artists used digital duplication techniques, copying and extending groups of soldiers across the battlefield to create the appearance of thousands of troops. Whenever a bug needed to physically interact with an actor, the production switched to full-scale practical effects. Special effects company Amalgamated Dynamics built enormous animatronic warrior bugs that could be operated by puppeteers and hydraulic systems. These life-size creatures featured moving jaws, neck sections, and body parts, allowing actors to perform directly alongside them. Whenever a soldier is grabbed, attacked, or standing face-to-face with a bug, there is a good chance a practical creature was actually present on set. The production team also constructed full-scale dead bug bodies for battlefield scenes. These massive practical carcasses were scattered across the set, allowing actors to climb over them, run through them, and interact naturally with the environment. This added a sense of physical scale that would have been difficult to achieve using CGI alone. The reason the arachnids still hold up today is because Starship Troopers never depended on a single technique. Close-up interactions were achieved with giant animatronics and practical effects, while massive bug invasions were created using cutting-edge CGI. By blending both approaches together, the filmmakers created an alien army that feels surprisingly real nearly 3 decades after the film's release. And that's it for today's video. If you love discovering how Hollywood's biggest movie moments were actually made, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and join me for more incredible behind-the-scenes journeys.